A sentencing hearing today for a man who kidnapped and shot a woman after forcing her into a well in Lawrence County. Frank Sheridan entered a guilty plea to one count of kidnapping in the death of Sarah Pascoe in August of 2020. Pascoe will spend 5 years on probation after the judge suspended his 15-year prison sentence. Investigators say Pascoe and another woman were kidnapped and forced into the abandoned well where they were shot. The other woman survived. Sheridan is the 8th person to make a plea in this case. The last defendant is due in court in November.